Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
And welcome to Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams, and it is time for Skin Talk. We do it every month at this time. It is the second Thursday of the month, so what we want you to do as listeners is just think of all the things that you've got questions. You know, you've always had a question sometimes is, boy, you know, I have a question about this thing on my skin. Well, today is the day that you can listen in and hopefully find out something to deal with it. And the interesting thing also about today's show is it's going to be international. Okay, what I mean by that is we have Maya Kay in the studio, and she's a PA. We'll talk what that is in just a moment. She is from Russia, correct? Yes, you're from Russia. And so I love accents. And so she's going to be on the show today. Dr. John Young, Dr. Corey Mon in the studio today.
Good morning.
It is time for Skin Talk. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, great to be here. Today we have an exciting show. We're going to explain how the skin can be the window into the soul. And most people think that a skin spot is just a spot and nothing more to it. But Dr. Mon's going to lead us today and talk about some internal problems that can be associated with skin findings. So, and that's part of the fun thing about our job is it could be like a Sherlock Holmes type of episode where we can see one thing and then we can often predict or ask pertinent questions to other problems and have better insight into the patient's whole health. And often it can get us important information that's important for other reasons that they might not even be aware of to help them in the future. We're also really excited to have Maya with us. One big thing that we like to do is to educate the community and other providers, and we as many people know have other doctors that rotate, particularly from the medical school in Samaritan in Corvallis in Lebanon. We also have medical students rotate with us, and occasionally we have a physician assistant student rotate with us, and so we're really glad to have Maya here, and she's currently rotating with PA Mark Williams, who's been a long-time fixture in Corvallis, long-term physician assistant there, who changed careers from the regular stuff, from family practice to dermatology. And so she's enjoying her month with Mark now.
Okay. We also, if it's okay, we've got a couple of tickets to give away in the show today.
Oh, great.
Northwest Fair and Expo is going to be coming March 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th at the Lynn County Fairgrounds, Lynn County Expo Center. Northwest Horse Fair and Expo. We have 2 general admission tickets, and we'll give them away. You can email me to win these, dave@kgal.com, dave@kgal.com. And the first person to do so wins a pair of tickets to the Northwest Horse Fair and Expo, courtesy of KGAL and our good friends here at Silver Falls Dermatology. So
great. I do see Dr. Mon emailing right now. I don't think we qualify.
That's kind of what he's doing on his iPhone there.
That's
all right. Maya, thank you for being with us on the show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm PA student, physician assistant student from Wake Forest University. Just happened to be here. My family lives in Corvallis, and I'm very glad that I was given this opportunity to be here and see this fascinating stuff.
Now, that's not the usual Corvallis accent that I've heard. How did you wind up in Corvallis?
I would say thank you to my husband. He brought me here, and this is how I'm here.
Why are you interested in dermatology? And what tell us a little bit about yourself. You were born and raised in Russia.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you get interested in dermatology?
This is the stuff you see probably the first when you look at the patient and you notice something unusual, sometimes very peculiar in appearance. And of course it just brought up this interest in me. What's going on? Why is it? What is it? How to treat? How to manage this condition?
Mm-hmm. Dr. John Young, it's probably kind of fun to have somebody from Russia to work with them, to find different cultures and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's really nice. You know, we have a lot of different backgrounds here. My background is Cajun French, and then Dr. Mon is actually fluent in French and was in Montreal for a couple of years. And then we know that you were in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right? So
we're just around the globe.
We're worldwide now.
Globetrotters.
That's right.
Dr. Marcus is in Portugal.
Yeah, Dr. Marcus, one of our other physicians, was in Portugal, and
Go ahead and put that a little bit more in front of
and Dr. Lear, one of the other main fixtures in our office, is actually from Newfoundland in Canada, which I found out used to be its own country, and then Canada kind of, I guess, enveloped them, I think less than 50 years ago. So just kind of an interesting story.
Interesting. So don't forget to send me an email, dave@kgal.com, for the 2 Northwest Horse Fair and Expo tickets. First person to do so will do those and give those away today. Where do we want to start out? Do we want to start out with Dr. Mon, or do we want to go with
let's let Dr. Mon talk about some of the things that we can see.
So recently, I had the opportunity to give a lecture to a number of primary care physicians in Bend for an osteopathic continuing medical education conference, and the topic that they requested that I give a lecture on was on systemic diseases and the skin manifestations, or the skin symptoms that you can see with these diseases. And in dermatology, a lot of the times people think dermatologist, that must mean that's where I go to get my moles checked and my acne treated, but there is a very big part of dermatology that includes learning how the body manifests itself through the skin. And one of the more common conditions that we see are people with diabetes, and they have their own set of skin problems that they experience due to their illness. And that can range from increased bacterial infections. A lot of them will have non-healing ulcers on their legs because the circulation tends to decrease once they've had long-standing diabetes, which makes them prone to bacterial infections. They can get a higher chance of getting fungal or yeast infections, which can cause a number of things, and not always just the normal, rashes that you may think of, but sometimes cracks and fissures at the edge of the mouth. You can get erosions between the fingers. So there's a number of things you wouldn't necessarily say, oh, yeah, that must be a candida or a yeast infection. But that's what we're trained to kind of pick up on, are those little nuances. Patients with diabetes can also suffer from thickening of their skin. They can get a firmness or a thickening on the upper back that we call sclerodema. One of the more common things we see is the browning of the skin, and you'll see in the folds, especially around the neck and other areas, they'll start to have this pigment, this darkening of their skin, which we call acanthosis nigricans. And most of the time, these skin findings are benign and there's nothing to really worry about, but occasionally they're not. And occasionally they're tied to even a more intense or involved condition within the body. So if you had that condition where it's kind of the thickening and browning and it happened to be around your mouth, then to a dermatologist we start to wonder about whether there's an internal malignancy or cancer in their GI system. And so there's these little connections that we draw over time and experience and through our training that we're instructed to pick up on, and that's one thing that Silver Falls does a good job, is looking at the whole patient and everything they're dealing with and trying to tie things together and make it work.
That's interesting. You wouldn't think that, for example, the thickening of the skin around the mouth and the indications there would indicate possibly cancer in the gastrointestinal system. You wouldn't think that, and so you're somewhat of a, skin detective, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
To give an example of this, people might say, well, how often do we see things like that? Is it really a red herring, or is it common? Yesterday I saw a young man who had a lot of skin tags, and he was there for that. And I said, well, let me take a look. And underneath the skin tags, he had these velvety brown plaques, this velvety brown thickening of the skin on the back of his neck. And so I said, well, let me see your underarms. And sure enough, he had the same thing in his underarms. And he was a bit overweight, and I asked him if he had diabetes, and he said, I don't know, but my mom has diabetes. And I said, well, you're probably at risk for that anyway, but it might be a good reason for you to get that checked, because those skin tags and that velvety brown thickening on the skin could be a sign that he might have that. And I told him, it's just another reason to drop a few pounds, because his weight was such that he'd be on his way to diabetes with that much weight anyway. And the other thing I could tell him was that condition also tends to sprout new skin tags all the time. So as opposed to a non-diabetic person who might not have that much weight on them and might not have the brown plaques, he might get new skin tags all the time. And so he was pretty interested to know that, and said he was going to follow up with his regular doctor to get his, diabetes checked. So, and it's nice, here's a young guy in his 20s, just really overweight, and, perhaps we can save him from future diabetes, which, as Dr. Mon said, long term, people have poor circulation and ulcers, so it can just kind of snowball. And how nice to catch that on the front end.
Very much so. So, Maya, as you're here basically in the field, getting on-the-ground training, if you will, out in the real world, treating patients and working with other dermatologists as they're working on patients, good opportunity, especially with a firm like Silver Falls, to find out just what state-of-the-art treatment is and what's going on out there.
Yes, I agree. And it's a great opportunity to learn all this fascinating stuff.
How long have you been here with Silver Falls? Here
Just few days.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Were you surprised, Maya, when you saw the different types of things that we do and how we can do them efficiently? And for instance, like the light treatments and the biopsies, and was it more than maybe you were expecting, or?
Well, it's not about surprising, but I really enjoy seeing how all cutting-edge technology are incorporated in this particular practice. It's really a very good place to have practice and see, for example,
Melafine. That's our new melanoma detector.
Have we talked about that yet?
Yeah,
we did.
A little bit, but now we're live with it. We actually have it. Yeah, that's a really interesting.
We talked about that last week.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, and blue light you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. We have blue light treatments, which are good for precancerous lesions and acne.
So, Maya, what do you plan to do when you get your shingles, so to speak, or when you become, when you graduate and go out there and
You're talking about in 2 months? Well,
2 months? 2 months?
Yeah, 2 months left. So
okay. So what do you plan to do in the future?
Dermatology, of course.
I mean, which country? Soviet Union here? Do they call it Soviet Union still? Russia.
No, there is no such a country as Soviet Union.
It's Russia.
It's Russia and all other countries. Yeah.
Okay. So are you going to go back there? You can stay here.
I'm
stay
staying
here.
Yes.
All right. You're going to work for these guys?
When they have opening,
oh, cool.
I would definitely ask.
You never
them.
know. Things are always changing and moving, and you never know when we'll have openings.
There you go. Okay. Don't want to put you on the spot there. But
oh yes, it's a good time.
No pun intended. We're talking about spots anyways.
There you go. Where do we want to go?
Apart from diabetes, Dr. Young was mentioning, a number of other things that we can address, and picking up early on diabetes is one thing. I think it's something that we recognize often, and sometimes it surprises the patient when we'll be in a room and we'll ask, so do you have diabetes? We kind of already know the answer based on their skin findings, but they're kind of shocked that we can tell that from the skin. And that's true about a number of other conditions as well. Thyroid disorders are also another common thing that present with skin, and often hair and nail changes. And so dermatologists deal not just with skin, but we're also the experts in hair and nails. And so some of those subtle findings of brittle hair and thinning or cracking of nails, those are some clues to us that they may be having some other form of an endocrine disorder, like their thyroid. Some lipid disorders, you see a lot of people as they mature through time that get these kind of yellow deposits around their eyelids. And about 50% of those patients will have elevated lipids. And that's another thing that a lot of times they're not aware of, and you'll ask if they've had their bloods drawn recently. And sometimes they have, and, again, half the time they're going to be normal. But in a good percentage of patients, that will be something that they can jump on top of and make sure that they're managing their lipids or their fat in their blood appropriately, so they don't have, cardiovascular events down the road. And so these are some of the other things that we kind of clue in and pick up on. And sometimes it's the rare things. And as it was a couple weeks ago, Dr. Lear had picked up on a rash. And it's a particular rash. It's got an interesting pattern. It was on the neck of an individual. And, in his training, and he's a very astute dermatologist, and said, to me, this looks like a condition called NME, or necrolytic migratory erythema, which is not a very common condition. But it's connected to pancreatic cancer and very closely correlated. And so that patient had no idea whatsoever that that was a potential complication. And so they had further workup done and were referred out to the appropriate physicians. But I think it's just important to know that your skin is kind of the window to the rest of your body. And almost every internal disease can have some manifestation on the skin. And that includes your intestines and your liver and your kidneys, all of these conditions, and even your brain. When certain things go wrong neurologically, it can manifest on your skin as itchy rashes, or even sometimes it feels like, like bugs are on your skin because your mind is kind of also affected by skin changes.
It's got to make you feel good, because not only are you helping them psychologically and in having good skin, in which his appearance is very important as we go through our lives in our relationships and work and so on and so forth, but you're actually also helping diagnose life-threatening conditions just by evidence of the skin. That's amazing. Obviously, we're all connected, but for the average person to walk in there and think that they could get diagnosed, for example, a possibility of pancreatic cancer by skin conditions is something I would never have thought. Very interesting. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, great. One really interesting thing that we saw in the last year was a person who came in with a really red ear. And you might think, a red ear, big deal, right? The thing that we look for is if the ear is red everywhere except for the earlobe where your earrings are, that's a sign that the cartilage underneath the skin is inflamed. And so you might still think, well, big deal. What if the cartilage on my ear is inflamed? There's a condition called relapsing polychondritis that causes inflammation of the cartilage, not only in the ear, but also in the nose, but also in the airway, because there's cartilage holding your airway open. And so those people are at risk for suffocation because of the cartilage, basically becoming flexible and not holding their airway open stiffly. So that was a patient that we sent for evaluation, and they confirmed that the patient did have that condition just from a red ear. We were able to pick that up. So that was kind of a real nice thing to pick up. Before the patient had a breathing problem, we got them in touch with someone who could check that better. So sometimes it's nice we can know who to send a patient to just from a little red herring, kind of finding like that.
Very interesting. Very nice. We'll have more on Skin Talk here on KGAL. We're talking to Dr. John Young. Maya K. I asked her what her last name was, and she said don't even try to pronounce it, so we're calling her Maya K. And Dr. Corey Mon, of course, regular guests here on Skin Talk here on KGAL. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back.
Going out to lunch at a nice restaurant can be expensive, and the big portions put you more in the mood for a nap than a productive afternoon. Mama's Fine Italian to the rescue. The small appetite senior menu is just right. Anyone and everyone is invited to order from the Light Appetites menu for lunch from 11 to 4 p.m. with tasty entrees beginning at only $3.95. Why go hungry or go anywhere else for lunch? Eat healthy, eat light at Mama's. Closed Sunday and Monday, so make the most of Tuesday through Friday and join your friends at Mama's for lunch. Dinner only on Saturday. Mama's features charbroiled steaks every day. Make reservations for dinner or pick up a bottle of fine wine. Seating is limited, so please call for reservations. 541-451-5050. That's 451-5050. Mama's Fine Italian and Wine Shop on West Oak between Main and 2nd in Lebanon, across from the Big Blue Napa Auto Parts building.
Corvallis Independent Business Alliance encourages you to support your community.
Chenard's Nursery, Florist, and Landscaping in Lebanon has 29 years of experience serving the Willamette Valley. Chenard's Nursery now has their best selection of the year of fruit, trees, berries, and perennial vegetables. View Chenard's list of spring classes online. Call Chenard's for your spring planting needs. 541-929-3524.
Time to reproof your rain gear at the Rain Shed. Do it yourself with help from the experts at the Rain Shed Outdoor Fabrics and Supplies. Patterns, fabrics, insulation, hardware, zippers, new creations, buttons, webbing, Sling Notions Elastic. Be inspired. It's all fantastic. Online at therainshed.com. Call 753-8900.
Special occasions, parties, and events locally owned since 1986 for weddings, banquets, birthdays, reunions, and corporate events. Special Occasions offers a wide variety of party rental and retail supplies for any event, large or small. Online at onestoppartyshop.net. Call now, 541-752-7255, 1435 Northwest 9th Street in Corvallis.
Thank you for supporting locally owned independent businesses.
Just 2 programs remain in this year's concert season of the Corvallis OSU Symphony Orchestra. The next performance is tomorrow night, 7:30, at the LaSalle Stewart Center. Under the direction of conductor Stephen Zilke, the orchestra and the OSU Chamber Choir will perform Bach's St. Matthew Passion. The Passion, written in 1727, sets to music chapters 26 and 27 of the Gospel of Matthew. It is regarded as one of the masterpieces of classical sacred music. Tickets are available at Grace Wins Music and Grassroots Books and Music in Corvallis, and they're available online at cosusymphony.org. The Corvallis OSU Symphony Orchestra invites you to bring the entire family to this special performance, Bach's St. Matthew's Passion, tomorrow night, 7:30 at the LaSalle Stewart Center on the OSU campus.
Yahoo Sports Radio, weekends on 1580 KGAL.
Hey, welcome back to Skin Talk. It is the second Thursday of the month, and that means we have the good folks in from Silver Falls Dermatology, and we're here talking about all things skin and condition. And were you aware that there's sometimes red herrings or warning signs on your skin that can lead to other more serious diseases, and good dermatologists can pick those up, and we're going to have some more examples of those coming up. Dr. John Young, of course, a regular on the show with me here to my left, and we have Maya Kay, who is from Resha, and we'll be hearing more from her, and of course Dr. Corey Mon with us as well, and another regular guest here on Skin Talk here on KGAL. So glad to have you with us today. Next thing we want to talk about is itchy scalp, and there's something else that can be a precursor to ovarian cancer we're going to be talking about.
Right. I mean, boy, how many people do we see with itchy scalps? We see that all the time, and it's something that the lay public may just blow off or think is not a big deal, but itchy scalp, particularly in women, can sometimes be the first presenting sign of a disease called dermatomyositis. Dermato meaning skin, myo meaning muscle, and itis is inflammation. So it's just a fancy name for inflammation of the skin and the muscle. So not only can they have muscle inflammation, which can be debilitating, but they can often have ovarian cancer, which is a real serious problem for women, because it can happen without a lot of warning signs, and sometimes when it's detected, it's too late. So when we sometimes see a scalp person who doesn't look like the normal to us, or might have some other complaints, for instance, we would ask them if they have trouble brushing their hair, because that uses the shoulder muscles, and it tends to be the muscles, near the trunk or the hips that get affected with that disease. So if they have weakness and can't reach above their head and comb their hair, we might want to check a blood test for that disease I talked about, dermatomyositis. If they have trouble getting up from a seat, a toilet, or a chair, then that's another sign, because those are the muscles that can be affected also. So sometimes if we see the scalp itching a lot, we'll ask certain questions, and they can lead us down the path to say, hey, we need to get you screened for ovarian cancer. So just a really unusual thing that most people, even most doctors, may not be aware of.
That's probably fairly shocking to a lot of patients who are thinking, how in the world can you link the two? Because to a normal person, a lay person, we think that is so far removed from that organ that there's no way possible that could be the kind of a signature, but we're all connected.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and we don't want to alarm anyone, but
Sure.
Just another reason that when you come in to an office like ours and we look everything over, people often wonder, what are these guys looking at? What are they looking for? Why do they look here? Why do they ask me these questions? Often it could be these really bizarre little clues that can lead to a more important thing, or at least we can rule that out. So just by asking a few key questions on a patient with a certain type of rash, we can figure out if there's a realistic risk they might have a cancer. So that's kind of a nice, fun part of what we can do, and it's easy. It doesn't hurt to ask the questions, and if they're negative, then we don't even have to, think about them having that type of association.
Sometimes when I talk to people that go into dermatologists, one of the reasons they don't like to go in is because it is, you guys look everywhere, between the toes and the fingers and everywhere that people can't see in their back and groin and so on and so forth. And a lot of people don't like to go through that because it's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they hide things from their doctors because they simply kind of want to avoid it. But I know out of sight, out of mind, but it can be very, very serious.
Yeah. And, we don't push it. If people come in, we offer them the full skin check. We encourage it, but we're not pushy about it. And we don't look where people don't want us to look. But it's kind of a nice thing that most people are fairly accepting of. And they seem to like the fact that we're concerned about them. And it's easy for us just to look and see. Let me see your back. I mean, how hard is it for a guy to lift his shirt up real quick and you to look at the back? And I can't tell you the number of cancers we found just from that simple act. It's just shocking.
But I guess what I'm trying to say here is work with your doctor because they're trying to help you. They're not trying to be nosy and poke and pry.
And
there's a reason why you want to look in those areas.
Yeah, and it's different with us. We just use our eyes. We don't stick needles in everything. So it's not like having to go in and get a blood draw or a shot. It's just a simple look-see with our fancy little lights, and often it can give us a good view into what's happening inside.
Dr. Corey Mon, anything you want to add?
No, he's exactly right. I think a lot of the times they're surprised when we want to look other places, and I tell you, I mean, we've kind of been drumming around the idea of writing a paper on just how often it is that someone will come in for one spot and we end up finding, something much more serious somewhere else because we've asked them if they'd like a skin check, or we have them come back for a follow-up for a skin check. And, you'd be surprised. I mean, your skin problems don't always present just where people can see it, and a good example, and I use it all the time when I'm speaking with my patients, is Bob Marley. A lot of people know who Bob Marley is, but not a lot know he died because he got a melanoma between his toes.
I didn't know that.
And so, he unfortunately didn't want to have it treated, and that's probably what took him, but the fact is that, we look between the toes because sometimes melanoma's there, and other things. But yeah, it's a good idea. We do a great job being thorough, and we're very respectful of people and areas that they want to have examined. And, this is all we do all day, every day. And we see a lot of times people who've had a spot for years and years. And whether it be they were embarrassed or they just didn't know, or maybe they were told by someone else it might have been okay. And unfortunately, those are not the fun cases to find, when it's been 5 or 6 years of something growing and getting quite large, and then all of a sudden it turns from what would have been something very simple to something very extensive.
For example, moles on the back is something that typically people can't see. And when we're in, the sports club or athletic, and you're there and you see people, in the shower, and you look, and even just for an untrained eye, you see a large mole, and you take a look at that and think, that looks kind of suspicious. But the average person can't see back there, out of sight, out of mind, and that's a good reason why you want to look between the toes and
sometimes we guys are extra stubborn about that. One of the most interesting things, that happened in the last year was a woman brought her husband in who had a 6-inch bleeding lesion on the back that had been bleeding for years. Really, really bad looking lesion, and we looked at that, but right next door was a funny looking mole that they didn't even know was there. So the odd thing is that the big bloody lesion was a cancer, but a really easy to cure cancer. But that bloody lesion might have saved the person's life because right next to it was a real small bad melanoma. So it's odd that the elephant in the room, the big nasty tumor, got him in the door, and then we looked around it and found something even worse that had no symptom. They didn't even know was there.
But that woman probably had talked for probably years to get him to go to the doctor. And as typical guys, I'll just suck it up. They say in gym class, walk it off.
Yeah.
Walk it off. Or do the man thing. But sometimes, hey, if you want to be around for your family, it may not be the wisest thing to do.
You know what? One of the simple things we do often is we'll grab the patient's hands and look at the fingers and look at the fingernails. And people will often, wonder, well, I'm here for a spot on my face. Why is he doing that?
Right.
Well, another case that I saw a couple of years ago, I looked at the nails, and the nails, instead of the little round white part at the beginning of your nail, we call that the lunula. Mm-hmm. Instead of the round white part, it was a triangle sticking out. And so I immediately said, can I see your elbows? And I looked at the elbows, and they had scars on the elbows. And I said, you don't have kneecaps, do you? And they looked at me shocked and said, no, I don't have kneecaps either. And that person had undiagnosed Fong syndrome, which is also called nail patella syndrome, with funny nail changes and funny arm angles that have to be corrected surgically. So that person had scars on the elbows to make the arms straight, and they had no kneecaps. And the key thing about that is they can have renal or kidney problems, right, Dr. Mon? So there's a case where just looking at a nail, we were able to say, hey, let me see your elbows. Oh, you probably don't have this. Well, you need to get checked for that. So a really kind of shocking example of how just looking at a fingernail can give you clues into something really serious like a kidney problem.
How often should people go in for a skin checkup? Twice a year, once a year? Does it depend, vary?
Well, we say most people once a year. People with a history of skin cancer, multiple precancerous lesions, or history of melanoma should be going in more frequently. And people with transplants and or on a lot of immunosuppressive medications, a lot of strong medications like prednisone, most people have heard of, things like that, should probably be screened maybe more often, at least once a year, because they can often grow cancers quicker and more of them.
What about people who are red-haired, fair-skinned, and then what about the different, how do we say this? What about the people with different colored skin? Like the Asians, people who are black in skin color, more often, less frequently?
So, darker skin does protect more. So maybe not quite as often, but definitely should be checked because, like Dr. Mon said, people of color tend to get cancers in odder places. And, for instance, African-American patients have a higher rate of getting it between the toes or getting melanoma on the feet. And so, without a good look, who's looking between their toes that's, 30, 40, 50 years old, so just something that could be simply done, but could be even more important to catch early because those cancers tend to move faster inside and kill people at a higher rate.
Is it harder to detect skin condition or skin cancers from people with darker skin?
It can be, but we use our training and our skills to determine if something looks suspicious, and usually with the lights and the clues around it, we can tell if it should be biopsied at least.
We are here with Skin Talk, Dr. John Young, Maya Kay from Russia, and Dr. Corey Mon, usual guests here on Skin Talk, here in the Valley Talk time slot. Do want to remind you once again that we do have 2 tickets to the Northwest Horse Fair and Expo. We're going to be giving those away at the end of the show. And 2 general admission passes. The show is the 21st through the 24th of this month. And so they can be yours. First person to email me here at dave@kgal.com. And we'll make sure you have a chance to get those. Then we will give those away at the end of the show. We'll be right back here on Skin Talk in just a moment.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people. Visit AutoOwners.com. And by Barbasol, America's leader for a close, comfortable shave. So lather up with Barbasol shaving cream and shave like a man. This is Charles Osgood. It's early in the morning, and our CBS News colleague Ben Tracy is on a snowy mountaintop to report on men who are armed with heavy artillery and explosives. But no, this is not a military combat mission.
5 o'clock in the morning at Utah's Snowbird Ski Resort.
Fire!
With military-issue howitzer cannons and C4 explosives, the Snowboard Ski Patrol team looks like they're playing war games. But what they're doing is trying to figure out where and when the next avalanche may happen.
The story after this. I live in New York City, where you walk everywhere all year long. And when you're outside that much, you need more than just sunscreen or regular sunglasses. You need polarized prescription sunglasses with Experio UV lenses. They eliminate 100% of the sun's blinding reflective glare, and they offer maximum UV protection so you can see clearly and your eyes are protected. Ask your eye care professional about Experio UV Superior Polarized Sun Lenses. It's the best vision under the sun.
Confusion ever someone or have sudden...
Have you ever had sudden confusion, trouble speaking, or understanding someone?
It could be one of the 5 signs of stroke.
Sudden weakness or numbness of the face, arm, or leg.
Sudden trouble with vision in one or both eyes.
Suddenly having trouble walking or difficulty with balance.
Or a sudden intense headache that comes out of nowhere.
Don't wait. Call 911 immediately.
Time lost is brain lost.
Find out more at powertoendstroke.org. Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Recent snow in the West is a dream come true for skiers and snowboarders, but an avalanche could turn it into a nightmare, says Ben Tracy.
Last winter, avalanches killed 34 people in the United States. Dean Cardinal runs the Snowbird Ski Patrol. Everyone on his team is a certified master gunner. They use the heavy artillery to shock the snowpack, delivering the impact of 100 people pounding on the slopes.
It's like a test that we see, and those results help us make a choice as to do we open this terrain or do we keep this terrain closed.
Those decisions can be life and death for the skiers who descend on the mountain.
And people descending can even cause an avalanche.
The trigger can be man-made, somebody skiing, somebody snowboarding, somebody snowmobiling, snowshoeing, or a natural trigger.
So it's a good idea to stick to the marked and officially open trails and avoid what Cardinal calls the backcountry.
You always want to think, are avalanches likely? And if they are likely, what are the consequences of an avalanche if it occurs? Does it take me on a small ride into the trees? Does it take me over the rocks or a cliff band? Does it bury me in that gully?
If so, don't go. The Osgood File. Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
Is your car dirty? Then why not give it the treatment it deserves and stop by CarCraft Auto Appearance Center. From a quick full-service cleaning and their car wash to a complete interior-exterior detail, CarCraft has multiple packages for you to choose from to help keep your vehicle looking great. Let one of their auto appearance specialists help you decide what treatment to give your vehicle. In business since 1976, CarCraft has established itself as the premier car wash and auto detailing facility in the area. That's CarCraft at the corner of 9th and Hill in Albany.
Relax. Refresh at the Century House Bed and Breakfast. If you're getting away for one day or a week, the hot tub, billiards, library, and a comfy suite will make your getaway a memorable experience. Corporate direct billing and discounts for extended and frequent stays available. Enjoy a great stay with all the amenities at the Century House Bed and Breakfast in Lebanon. Call for reservations. 541-259-5592. 541-259-5592.
Now you can manage your printers as easy as you manage your copiers. Managed print services from Ultrex. Maintenance, toner cartridges, and repairs, all in just one monthly payment. Hewlett-Packard, Lexmark, Brother, just to name a few. All you have to do is buy the paper. It's that easy. Just call Ultrex today and ask about their managed print services. Ultrex Business Solutions, your locally owned and operated copier company, proudly supporting our community. Ultrex Business Solutions.
Want to really know more? Just point, click, and learn from the Mid-Valley's best website, KGAL.com.
We are back now on Skin Talk. Dr. John Young, Maya Kay from Russia, and Dr. Corey Mon in the studios with us today, and we are glad to have you with us. Don't forget that it is the second Thursday of every month where we talk about a lot of issues regards to the skin and dermatology. Very, very interesting show today. I was not aware of most of what we've been talking about as far as indicators or precursors, signs of other more serious conditions are making themselves known on the skin. One of the things we do want to talk about, Dr. Corey Mon has a few more thoughts about pathology. Speaking of melanomas, there is, it's a light detection piece of equipment, is that correct, called Mellofind?
Right. There's a new device which looks basically like a police radar gun that they shoot at you when you're speeding, that you just push against the skin and take a picture of a mole with, and it performs an analysis to give you an idea of how risky that mole is to be a melanoma. And so it's a brand new thing. It's FDA proven to detect melanoma, and we just got it in. We're really excited about it. We've been using it quite a bit. And we're hoping that we will catch a lot of early melanomas with this, since that's one of the most serious things we deal with, because it starts as what looks like nothing and can end up killing people. And it's a real dangerous thing if not caught early. And so we're really excited about this. We have this at all 4 offices now. And the nice thing is we're the second place in Oregon to have it, so it's not a widely available device yet, and a lot of people don't even know about it or haven't used it yet. But it's specially licensed by the FDA to be used only by a dermatology office, because a lot of the accuracy of it depends on which kind of moles we select to be examined by it. It has to be the right kind of mole, which we would be able to look at and tell people if it would qualify. Because we can usually tell if a mole is just totally okay, then it's not meant to be used there. If a mole looks totally bad, then we would take that one off. It's for those ones that are in between in our minds that it can help with. So,
now you mentioned a police radar gun that was dealing with radio waves that bounce off a car and judge how far it takes to come
it
back.
looks like a radar gun, but it actually shoots out different wavelengths of light, and so it's very safe. It's painless. It's just like taking a camera, but we squish it up against the skin and snap the photo, and then the computer analyzes it. So we have it on a little cart. It looks like a little computer screen with this radar gun attached to it, and it's a painless thing, easy to do, just takes a little bit of time. And we've already found some moles that we were worried about but did not need to come off because the machine gave us an A-OK on them, that they were all right or benign. So it's just another exciting tool, and technology is making advances in a lot of things on the inside, but it's now also making advances for skin treatments on the outside. So we're happy to offer it. We would encourage anyone who's afraid of getting a biopsy, who's afraid of getting a shot, to maybe consider coming in to see if that would be a good thing to do, because it doesn't hurt. We could do it on a kid, we could do it on an adult. It's painless, and it's just the computer adding to our diagnostic accuracy. It's 98% accurate, and again, it's especially useful for people who have a risk of melanoma, fair-skinned, a lot of moles, or maybe needle phobic and don't want to get something taken off unless we have good reason to do it.
A few more thoughts about pathology, Dr. Corey Mon.
Yeah, just to add to Dr. Young's comments about these amazing tools that we have to diagnose skin disease. In addition to Melifind, we have our dermatoscopes and a number of other instruments. And one of our most useful instruments that we have is our pathologist. And we are lucky enough in our practice to have Dr. Bolke, Angela Bolke, who's a dermatopathologist, so she's specially trained in skin pathology. And for some of these conditions that we've been discussing, our clinical suspicion takes us to a certain point, and often we confirm that suspicion by getting a pathologist to read the tissue and look at it under a microscope. And we're trained, all dermatologists are trained in pathology to a certain extent, but to have an extra specialist who can tease out the little nuances it's amazing to have that ability. And, there are a lot of conditions where things overlap, and rashes can look similar, or bumps can look similar, and you could have celiac disease and come in and not knowing you have it, and you can have these itchy bumps on your elbows and knees and lower back, and by a biopsy we are able to give us a little bit more information as to what your disease may be, or at least suggest what it may be. And so dermatology is about using the best of your mind and the best of the tools available to make the diagnosis to help our patients get better. And I think we do a great job at Silver Falls with that, and we try to stay up to date with the latest technology. Melifind is going to be fantastic as far as screening for melanomas and helping us to do an even better job than we already do.
Maya Kay, let's bring you back on the air while we have a few more minutes left to go in the show. That's amazing to me. I've learned a lot today about how your skin can be a precursor or give the doctors signs and us signs that something more serious is going on in their body. It's got to make you feel good as a dermatologist that you can even prolong someone's life from an issue that may not necessarily be directly skin related, but it's an evidence. You're kind of a Sherlock Holmes here to find out what's going on in our bodies.
Yes, we are on the same page. It's priceless to diagnose something just looking at the skin. And I don't know about our listeners, but I learned so much today during the show, so I hope it will.
This is the first time you've been on the radio, isn't it?
Yes, it's true.
Are you going to do it again?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Just invite me.
All right.
In case,
love your accent.
In case anyone's interested, we have offices in Corvallis, Albany, and in Albany we're right here, right near the mall, in the old library building on Waverly, and we're also in Salem and Woodburn. And if they were interested in Mellofind, they could check our website out at www.silverfallsderm.net. That's silverfallsderm.net. And they can also see our providers on there and read their bios and check out some other things that we have going on. We have a lot of exciting other things that we're doing, like Ulthera, which is the facelift ultrasound procedure that we don't have to knock people out for. They could also call us at 503-362-8385. That's 503-362-8385. And we do try to get people in quickly so they don't have to wait long. But, you know, if you had questions about Mellofind or wanted to get a good skin check or even just get a rash looked at, itchy scalp, acne, we're happy to do that. And again, there's a lot of information on our website that's pretty interesting to take a look at.
Yeah, I was just getting the number, the toll-free number for anyone that's outside of the Salem area. Do you know it offhand?
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Put me on the spot there, and I don't have the numbers memorized.
I love live radio.
Now, the other interesting thing... Go ahead, Doctor.
All right, so if you're outside of the Salem area and you need our phone number, it is 1-866-599-DERM. It's 599-3376.
And your website, silverfallsderm.net.
That's right.
And we're going to go to there right now. A lot of information there. We've talked about Mellofind, Ultherapy. We've talked about a lot in the past. Ultherapy is still very popular.
Yeah, we're having a good time with it. We're seeing a lot of results with it. Again, it's just amazing to be able to do a facelift or a neck lift and pull skin tighter and take some years off without all the hang-up mentally over like getting surgery or having scars or having long healing time. An hour and 15 minutes to take a few years off. It's a really exciting deal, and it does work.
All right. And again, the website, silverfallsderm.net. And
we do have a local number for Albany and Lebanon. It's 541-967-8385. 541-967-8385. And we do enjoy seeing everyone that's listening. We've had a few people come in lately who say they came in because they heard us on the radio, and it's always fun and exciting for us to talk about that while we're checking out their skin.
So make sure you make a note on your calendar, second Thursday of every month. Learn something new. I learned a lot. I learned a lot new today about some of these. You know, who would have thought that ovarian cancer might possibly have a telltale sign on your skin? Never would have thought that.
That's right.
This is Skin Talk. I think we have one more break. If we do, we'll take it now.
When you look out across the Willamette Valley, you'll see plenty of banking choices. Willamette Community Bank is here to give you an option that's pretty unique, like no other, in fact. Hi, this is Sue Kalina, Relationship Manager. Willamette Community Bank provides an alternative to large national and regional banks by offering customized financial services and local decision-making to benefit local people, local families, and local businesses. How many banks can say that?
Willamette Community Bank, service like no other. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Jay Farner here from Quicken Loans. We get a lot of tweets from folks that sound just like this. Jay, I bought my home in 2007. Since then, it's gone down in value. Now I owe more on my mortgage than my home is worth. Can I refinance? The answer may very well be yes. Recently, the government announced changes that may allow folks to refinance even if their home has lost value. For example, if you owe $300,000 on your mortgage, but your home's only worth $150,000, Quicken Loans may still be able to help you. Or if your current mortgage rate is higher than 3.99%, you've got to give us a call today at 800-QUICKEN. And for 3 years in a row now, J.D. Power & Associates has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. So, if your current mortgage is higher than 3.99%, or if you owe more than your home is worth, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
For J.D. Power & Associates award information, visit jdpower.com. Important terms and conditions apply. Calls for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030.
Finding your perfect match takes time. Yet this Saturday, you can finally get yours during Free Paint Saturday at Economy Supply Building Center. Get a free quart Saturday of your perfect color from the new Clark & Kensington Paint and Primer in One. Stop searching and find your soul paint from Ace, the helpful place. See Economy Supply for in-store coupon. Offer ends March 16th while supplies last. Limit 1 per household. Most colors available for tinning. See store for details. It's time to get your weekends back with help from your neighborhood Ace. Economy Supply Building Center, Lebanon.
The Willamette Valley Concert Band, under the direction of Dr. Richard Sorensen, presents a free concert of mostly familiar favorites from Austria and Hungary this Saturday at 2 p.m. at LBCC in Albany. The concert will include a wide variety of music of the 18th and 19th centuries, including Haydn, Mozart, and Johann Strauss from Austria, and Franz Liszt, Franz von Suppe, and Julius Fusik from Hungary, and Antonin Dvorak from Bohemia, now the Czech Republic. There is no charge for the concert, and donations will be gratefully accepted. A free Austro-Hungarian Rhapsody concert by the Willamette Valley Concert Band this Saturday at 2 p.m. Russell Tripp Performance Center, Lynn Benton Community College in Albany. The concert is free thanks to the generous sponsorship of Russ and Duffy Tripp.
Health Talk with Dr. Bob Martin, Sunday mornings on News Talk 1580, KGAL.
This is Skin Talk, KGAL Radio. The time is 11:57 on the second Thursday of the month. It is the 14th of March, and it is one of the things I'm very, very excited about. This is the second summer I've had in the Mid-Willamette Valley. I love the summers here, but summer means more time in the sun. Watch out for that. Make sure you put on the suntan lotion, the sunblock, to keep from getting too much sun, because sun is a good thing, but too much of a good thing is not a good thing.
That's right. And the dermatologists are here to bail you out.
Yeah. But ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure.
That's right.
So it's a good idea.
So there are certain cases where we don't mind people getting a lot of sun, and those particular are patients with bad psoriasis, which is a real red scaly rash. And we often see people that don't come in that frequently, and they might say, well, why do I need to come back? And then we'll sit and chat with them about all the new developments that have come out over the last year. For instance, in psoriasis, so we have new drugs in the pipeline, new medicines. We have new data that come out. So for instance, we had someone with psoriasis the other day and talking about internal problems. We think that people with psoriasis have increased risk for death from like heart disease and artery disease. We think that redness, that inflammation on the skin, spills into the blood and affects the heart and the arteries. And something I was able to tell this patient was, although she's been on a great medicine for psoriasis for years, I was able to give her an update and say, now there's new data that, well, the medicine might put her at a little bit higher risk to get a skin cancer on the negative side, but on the positive side, the medicine may extend her life, because they're finding that if we treat people with really bad psoriasis, we can protect their heart and their arteries. So she may be at lower risk for heart disease in the future. So just another kind of interesting thing. Sometimes the rash stays the same, but the treatments change. And then what we know about the rash and the problems in the future change also.
Now, we have a lot of interesting things we covered. We just got a text message here from somebody who wants to hear about the ovarian cancer again. Now, we're going to have the show on our website, KGAL.com. It's going to be up there later on today. We're back to our video camera again. We should have the video up mid-afternoon today. So if you want to listen to that part specifically about the ovarian cancer piece, then we'll have that up here on the show today. Contact information real quick.
So we have a number that's 503-362-8385. Website.
The website is silverfallsderm.net. We have two other contact phone numbers. If you're wanting a toll-free number, it's 866-599-3376. And here locally in Albany, Corvallis, 541-967-8385.
Your first choice in local news, sports, and smart talk. This is News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.